Hi there, this is Robert of Mayflower Bookshop, mayflowerbookshop.com. And today, let's talk about the major aspects, astrological aspects for December 2021. Of course, many planetary aspects or comets or certain cycles in the stellar movement of the sky, they influence more than just 1 month. So when we say December, we're going to lock in what's going on in December that could directly affect you in your sun sign. And of course, to really understand astrology, it's good to get an astrology program from the Mayflower Bookshop or try to get a free mini one from online. You get like an astrology program so that you have your astrology chart. And so then when you hear that the new moon December 4th is at 12 Sagittarius, if you have something in Sag or Gemini or Virgo or Pisces that aspects that strongly, especially if you're born in around the middle of the sign, then you're going to be influenced for new beginnings then, or something new is going to happen, or something's going to gestate inwardly that's going to awaken your inner self to participate in some changed way or different direction with the world. Or if you have the full moon, like the full moon on the 18th, it's good to have an astrology calendar too. And if you come into Mayflower Bookshop and you mention you've heard this talk, I'm happy to give you a 10% discount on your calendar, your astrology calendar for 2022. So any of these major aspects, like the comet coming close to Venus, for instance, I have another talk on the comet Leonard or Leotards, if you're moving fast, but officially it's Comet Leonard. And it's a comet that has an 80,000 year cycle, and it took some 40,000 years to get here. And it's going to go past the sun January 3rd, around 12 or 13 Capricorn, opposing the United States sun. So there's going to be some kind of reckoning and wisdom, insight, and ultimate as far as you can go with certain things, and you got to fix them now thing that might happen with that comet. Or is the comet going to awaken higher intelligence and spirituality with many, many people around the world so that they find their true work and calling and higher self and spiritual alignment with the Christ or the Buddha or the virtue, some kind of attunement and at one-ment with a greater sense of wholeness. So the way that I share with you astrology is, number one, is intellectual information. It's like information. And I'm going to list you the 12 or so major aspects of December. But then we're going to go into certain aspects that are related to larger periods of time and to a bigger current event. And how it relates to your sun sign. So quickly now, the astrological aspects that are of prime importance, the top dozen. December 1st, Neptune goes direct at 8:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now Neptune's in Pisces and the moon's in Scorpio. So you might say that something's happening on December 1st, especially to water signs. And the feelings and emotions are going to be renewed. One's going to feel like they're coming out of a bad dream into a good dream. And this Neptune has been going retrograde since at least August. So let me just check that. Right, just past the middle of August. So since late August, the last third of August, if your dreams went awry and what you imagine the world to be a reality, you may have gone back to demystify yourself and to realign yourself with your highest vision and dream. And what would include all of us. The Neptune is music and social, cultural, artistic endeavors and trying to beautify or mother some divine, higher spiritual proclivity in yourself or another. Something you've been trying to mother. or be mothered for, something you're trying to be nourished for. And this takes a forward motion starting on December 1st. And again, it's going to affect others too. I mean, Virgos might be having sudden wake-up calls, and Pisces is a beautiful shift, whereas Virgo might be kind of awkward and you have to avoid over-criticizing yourself. But it might be that you're awakening from a bad dream to try to find inspiration and aspirations and intuitions to follow your higher calling. So December 1st is this aspect that affects Gemini and Sag, in that half of the problem is their own and half's other people, for what is the true dream, what's the true illusion that's going to make you happy. I mean, the illusion that you're becoming a Buddha or at one with the Christos or the Christ or spiritual knowledge. I mean, so the top aspects of December are Neptune going direct since the last third of August on December 1st. Then we have the solar eclipse at 12 Sagittarius on December 4th. December 4th through to the full moon and possibly through to the new moon come January of 2022. On December 4th, there's a solar eclipse. And this is to make us more sensitive to higher knowledge and to be willing to have higher negotiation with what our plans are for travel, higher education, insights into how to make it work for everybody. Sagittarius tends to be very optimistic, so this might be an incredible month of optimism. It could be false optimism for some people. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. One of the great, wondrous things I'm watching is, am I right that Sagittarius rising for the United States ascending sign versus a very persuasive, strong debate about having, from a California astrologer, having Scorpio rising. Or other people say that it's Gemini, or a different degree of Scorpio, or even Virgo. There are different charts that people use. I've been very successful, I think, with using the Sagittarius rising. And if that's true, then December 11th or 12th, Jupiter will conjunct the United States moon. And this would be very, very significant. Aquarius, the Aquarian age, the ideal of brotherhood and sisterhood rather than big brother, totalitarian fascism, other than authoritative dictatorial things that are pushed on you, that we have a negotiation to reach a higher common sense, common wealth, common goodwill. And if that's the case, some kind of huge breakthrough will take place in the middle of December for other reasons besides just the Jupiter conjunct moon, but the comet Leonard, the comet that is a messenger of the gods coming straight up from above our heads from the great bear Ursa Major, the sacred great mother bear, the honey hive of the world of soul and spirituality, is descending. It's almost like the Holy Spirit is descending in sparks and flames of new imaginations and inspirations and intuitions about who we are and who we are in relationship to the world around us. That we're going to be capable of seeing how we belong to the world, and the world is within us too. The world belongs to us and we belong to the world. It's a mutual agreement. Spiritual and material, inner and outer, higher and lower, are the 6 directions of which the stillness dream of the highest ideal of virtue and goodness and trueness and beauty is awoken. It's not awoke. It's not a cancel people. It's trying to include everybody. And that each individual has their unique intuition for the ethic that will unfold their special gift to make the world a better place. This is something you can experience intellectually, but it's also something that you can directly experience just in your feelings. And that's kind of the way that the green tongue was, that there's multiple levels. The Celtic way of speaking is that there's multiple levels of understanding. And the number one is just to get common sense and intellect and where you are now. The other thing is to get a feel for the universal love and truth that will inspire us to do great art and deeds of virtue. So when it comes to the 12th and 13th, I mean, that's when the comet is coming close to the Earth, and and Mars goes into Sagittarius, which, again, Sagittarius is the ruler of Mars is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the mother of the influence of Mars. And so Mercury going into Capricorn on the 13th is a practical knowledge of great deeds and aspirations of the Knights of the Holy Grail and the Golden Stone of alchemists, the Christian Rosencreutz, for those of you who are into esoteric things. So we have Neptune going direct on the 1st. We have the new moon, of which we make our plans and wishes and hopes on the 1st of December and maybe the 2nd and 3rd. We're wishing and hoping that we get some kind of new insight before the full moon that comes on the 18th of December. This is esoteric astrology. And then the comet comes near Arcturus on the 6th, when Hanukkah ends, when Mars sextile Pluto and the moon conjuncts Venus and Pluto. So when the comet comes close to Arcturus, we clearly start to get spiritual knowledge, practical and spiritual knowledge on what to do that would help this world be a better place. Mercury squares Neptune on the 7th with the moon Saturn, and the ideal dream is conflicting with the practical reality. And that's part and parcel of the Saturn square Uranus for the 3rd time that's coming on December 24th, going into the Venus conjunct Pluto on the 25th. I hope you're taking notes. I'll try to write something up on this too. Again, the most important aspects are Neptune going direct on the 1st, the new moon on the 4th. These are minor ones I'm mentioning now. Mercury square Neptune on the 7th for confusion that needs common sense and practicality and no gamble. Mars squares Jupiter the night of the 7th going into the 8th of December. That gives you a lot of energy going into that. And the moon conjunct Jupiter on the 9th of December. It gives like a socializing and wanting to make other people happy and wanting to be a bigger person. Now, where the third difficult aspect comes into view from the Neptune direct on the 1st, new moon on the 4th, the third major aspect is Venus conjunct Pluto on the 11th of December. Venus will go retrograde later on the 19th of December. But here's the first hit of Venus conjunct Pluto, and then it hits December 25th on Christmas, early in the morning. So it's going to influence the days before and after. And then it takes all the way to March that Venus conjuncts Pluto for the 3rd time, because Venus goes retrograde. Venus conjuncts Pluto, goes retrograde, conjuncts it again from the 11th to the 25th. And then it goes retrograde and takes a long time coming back to where it's going to conjunct Pluto again. When Mars and Venus join up the Pluto March 2nd and 3rd. That's going to be a big, intense thing where it's important that you're working with the right people and that you've gotten rid of your problems before that, because that is a difficult aspect for contesting and fighting, like cats and dogs. Venus is the feline cat, and Mars is the dog. And Pluto is a deep transformation in the way we think of love and sex, how love overspills into sexuality or sex doesn't work, for instance. So when the Venus-Mars conjuncts Pluto, those are very powerful allegiances and connections hopefully it's not a life and death situation, which even December 11th and the 25th, I mean, Venus-Pluto is like tenacious not letting go. Anger is the worst non-virtue according to Tibetan Buddhists. Anger is the worst non-virtue because it can destroy your good karma, and one can do overboard rash things. But attachment is the glue that keeps you stuck with difficult situations. Attachment is a problem. And so is pride and ego attachment, self-grasping, always trying to defend and protect oneself rather than trying to see what would be the best to gain enlightenment, what would be the best for others to gain enlightenment, and what would be the best thing to do for the sake of the whole world rather than just ourselves. Life is very short. So Venus-Pluto often is associated with termination and endings and some final result that took a while, or some result that is to avoid a more further negative thing, like Mark Twain in number 44 and The Mysterious Stranger, especially number 44, his last book. He hints that difficult things happen and breakups and separations happen so that, as Goethe pointed out too, all separations are for the sake of a higher union further down the road. And so Venus-Pluto is this kind of finality of the wisdom that we can learn by having compassion for everyone who suffers, not just ourselves, or not just one other self, but to have compassion for every brother and sister on the planet. Venus calls for a higher form of love that the old love don't work. And it's associated with the only ability to get through Pluto aspects are radical selflessness and compassion, loving kindness, and a warm heart, and not going Ahrimanic with cold intellectuality. And so this Venus-Pluto is going to be quite the thing, because it gives you one of those forever moments that forever you feel you get caught in woundology psychology, or you get caught in a greater compassion that Buddha or Christ might have, or the early every religion and Celtic early pagan streams, even in Plato. It can be a great intense need to beautify and get rid of things that you no longer need. It's creativity and transformation, going through the form, but trying to rise to the occasion. A desire to solve problems, a procreative sense of motherhood, mothering other people and helping yourself be mothered to a higher birth out of the womb of the heart. It's deep feelings in deep feelings in the need of a spiritual light, and not only depth but a higher light. So in many ways, the Venus Capricorn is really discovering what we love, and because in Capricorn it affects especially the leaders of the world, and heroes and movie stars and rock stars and people who are local leaders in the family, people who are elders, or the people who are supposed to be smarter. It seems like the world is going through kind of like a metamorphosis and transubstantiation, transfiguration, transliteration, transfusion of higher knowledge into the everyday life. And many people feel that their job or their home life or their relationships or their personality ego, the separate ego that acts out of separateness, cause of much suffering, isn't quite working. So this is a reconsideration. The Pluto Venus conjunct is a reconsideration, and it can be the sudden rise or fall of a woman leader. If it's a guy, it's somebody that has a lot of emotion attached to it, and often there's a prominent death of whether God forbid it's the Queen of England or some major figure in America, but there's a lot of people having difficult aspects. I want to remind you that no astrological aspect forces its will on you. There's a higher and lower octave to every aspect. Venus, Pluto, higher octave. And we have freedom within us. You can read Rudolf Steiner's Philosophy of Freedom. He claims in his book on Christianity as a mystical fact and the philosophy of freedom, that there's something within each human being that is the Lord of karma. It's the God spark. I'm putting this in my words of what Rudolf Steiner is saying. So forgive me. But there's a God spark or a divine universal something. An atom, or it's probably a spark and a space that is the divine wisdom, Sophia, with the divine only begotten Son, with a huge stillness of the Father that is already made from the Father point of view of radical stillness and emptiness, that knows everything and doesn't have to do anything because everything's perfect for us to get enlightened. I mean, that's quite a way to think, isn't it? When you really occupy the temple of the altar of your heart with the temple of your whole self, with your 7 levels of consciousness all go around this stillness center, that if one can listen with their heart, which I've often talked about as the third ear, if one can, the single ear with your heart. So you can see that this Venus-Pluto could be sacred divine births. I mean, this comet coming in now could be, for sure, like good guy, bad guys getting born, but hopefully beautiful male and or female souls that are going to help transform this Kali Yuga crass materialistic age into a healthy balance between spirit and matter. And Venus-Pluto is going to let us see the bottom line, and there's a higher octave of divine compassion and spiritual will that comes from the highest flames of love and truth. And that begins on the 11th of December and then strikes hard on Christmas and then goes to March when we have more of a collective will. Mars joining it would be the representative of like, instead of war, we have like divine provocateurs and creative agents for change and transformation for the good, true, and beautiful, you know? Instead of turn the guns into garden tools or something. New forms of healing that are based on sympathy rather than antipathy and compassion and universal love. So the Venus-Pluto is the third major aspect that's walking right into, does Jupiter conjunct the moon? Now, the negative side of Jupiter conjunct the moon is herd instinct, where everybody just does this thing automatically without thinking. Everybody's getting their 20th vaccine or something, hoping it's going to help them. I mean, again, I'm not putting down vaccines. I'm not putting down or up anything. I'm just, as an American, as a United States of America citizen, I'm asking, like, how can we attain the higher octaves and yet know the common value? Like Ben Franklin, the great astrologer, and Tom Jefferson studied it. Reagan used astrology. Otherwise, his wife was running the country using it. Okay, so then we have, in passing, we have Sun square Neptune on the 12th, when the comet is coming close to Earth. Many people might have Virgin Mary experiences and UFO experiences and sci-fi and dreams that are potently prolific and demonstratively prophetic. I mean, you want to keep a journal because this is a really intense time for the world, and lots of good and difficult things are happening that open up the spiritual worlds to us. A lot of times when people close to us pass into the spiritual world, we have these spiritual insights, you know, that make us whole. And we stay in our heart. Nobody dies. In our heart, we're all connected as one giant family. This is something to intellectually understand, but it's something to experience directly too, and to try to create a spiritual mood and vibration in holy space where time stops and we either meditate or pray, or we try to, you know, meditation is more of a listening to what the universe or God is trying to tell us, or the great goddess is trying to tell us. Then Very important fourth major aspect. Again, give or take a few days, but it happens exactly 4:53 a.m. on the 13th of December. So you're going to be feeling it that weekend coming into it. Mars goes into Sagittarius. Mars will leave Scorpio and go into Sagittarius. So trying to get even and trying to punish people. Mars goes into Sagittarius for higher mindedness that can further our future and not hold us back in personality struggles and desire and fear motivating rather than higher octaves motivating us. We can always go to the higher octave of these aspects. Mars in Sag, that goes on for a number of weeks, is brash, honest conversations. Often everybody knows the open secret, and they're trying to get to something that will allow us to move towards manifesting our higher destiny and calling, or freeing us from being captured with trivial pursuit. Mercury goes into Capricorn on the 13th at 12:52 p.m., near 1 p.m., and that is a practical mind to manifest destiny and pay off the karmic debt of fate. Many travel plans and future plans and assertiveness in a good, holistic, happy-go-lucky style appear at this time. Traveling might lighten up for a minute here and there between the 13th and the full moon that's in Gemini coming up at the end of the week. The comet gets pretty bright, I think, 12th, 13th, 14th, 16th. It comes very close to Venus, just below Venus, as we go to the 16th, 17th into the full moon. Please listen to my comet talk if you want to have more insights into the comet. But the comet is delivering a really important message. What is our true work and calling? What kind of home should we have that rejuvenates us and renews us, and there's not struggles and feistiness at work and at home and with friends and mates, and that we have bigger things to do? We should be working together to make the world a better place, not always infighting. Infighting, by the way, according to early theosophical teachings that I acquired, and Rudolf Steiner, anthroposophical insights. In the early days, I used to hang out with a lot of older people that, when I was really young, that gave me their wisdom. And they thought that infighting, when people at work or in the family or the friends, there's this infighting that takes place. And often the infighting and the psychic civil war is because we attempted to get to higher places spiritually and materially, but we didn't virtuously we didn't earn it. We didn't earn it through virtue. Like when you have money, you can buy something. Well, we didn't have the virtue that could buy into a higher lifestyle, and we tried to kind of get there too quick, and we had fallback. And that's the infighting, where we need to go work on ourselves more than work on others. And also that's Venus-Pluto is going on retreat, going into your inner stillness. It can also be a deep experience of the other's inner stillness. It could be a deep retreat into self or other or private arts and works and research. It's critically important with Venus-Pluto, December through March, but especially in December, that we clean up our messes from the past, and we get rid of things that aren't honoring our higher self, and that we try to acquire friends that honor our spiritual future, this life and next life. So the comet comes close to Venus, and very, very important messages of love take place in mid-December. The crass, materialistic gift-giving that takes place at this time of the year hopefully will be more and more replaced with giving of oneself to people who suffer more than you. Giving the gift of self, or art or poetry, or weavings or workings or music or cooking. it's up to each one of us to find what is it that we really love that makes us feel eternally young? How can we get that in a way that helps the world and benefits the world? So the full moon is critical, and that takes place. I mean, when you have this Venus, the comet can make one feel very vulnerable, but can also make you very loving and kind and warm-hearted and giving. And Venus is at late Capricorn. So everybody who was born in late December, late December is an important time too, but if you were born in mid-January on a bit, mid-July on a bit, mid-October on a bit, you get it? Mid-Taurus on a bit. You're going to be getting hit pretty strong with some of these aspects. And there are many other places. Now, again, it's not just your sun sign, it's your moon and ascending sign. Your ascending sign is your day-to-day personality and body often, and the ascending sign is. And the sun is your true solar spark self, the drive, the will. And the moon is your reflective feelings and reflective mind. These things are all important. And you have Venus and Mars and Jupiter. You got to know where they are and see if this full moon that takes place on the 18th at 27 Gemini. Are you working on your journal, your book, clear communications with others? And then we have Venus goes retrograde on the 19th. That's one of the critical, that's probably the sixth most important. Venus retrograde in Capricorn. So a lot of the things that we've thought about with love, we're going back to see who's really with us and who's not with us, and we're reconsidering our actions. And Venus goes retrograde right into the end of January. Goes back to 11. So, almost all Capricorns, Libras, Aries, Cancer are really trying to figure out what is love, what do I love, what beautiful things do I want to keep, what don't I want to keep. And one's reviewing their whole history of their biography and previous lives to see why they got where they are. Do we love our work? Do we love our home? Do we love our friends? And again, we can love, we're supposed to love everyone. You don't have to like everyone. Do we have a cellmate or a soulmate? Do we have a cellmate that we're locked into some karmic situation that we're a heavy learning lesson? Or do we have, actually we always have soulmates. We're souls that have bodies. We're not bodies that have souls. And learning to think this way is a big piece of what's going on right now with this comet, this quickening. The comet is a Christmas comet. It's quickening our understanding of Christ in the etheric, the return of the Bodhisattva, Lord Maitreya, the new Buddha, that's already here on the astral plane, that one can have compassion, that people try so hard to be better and screw up anyway, and we can have compassion for what we're all trying to learn with each other. Selfless wisdom and compassion is the nature of Pluto. Venus is the nature of wanting to do things that enchant us and are loving and sparkle us and spark our creativity. And so this is an important point where there's a lot of funny reversals. It's very important that you try to get your Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts or New Year's gifts before Venus goes retrograde. If Venus goes retrograde, you want to rely on something traditional, like when you get a Tibetan bell, or you get like an old classic book from the metaphysical spiritual world, like at Mayflower. You get a bell. My brother I gave him a Tibetan bell for Christmas one time, and he thought it was just dumb because he was kind of a good materialist, but he didn't really understand spiritual things. But later he came to me and told me that and the great piano he had in his living room that he never played, that other people would play when they came and visited, the bell and the piano were the most talked about, interesting things to anybody that visited him. And he wanted to get another bell, even though at first he thought I had just laid something on him that I didn't want, but I really laid it on him because the Tibetan bells are sacred. The striker is your spiritual practice, and the emptiness is your selfless learning. You're wanting to mother something better than yourself at the moment. Or help mother others' spiritual self. Okay, so I'm getting lost here. Let's get back to Jupiter making interesting aspects to the United States chart, not just the moon. The United States is going through a huge reawakening that takes place fully when Jupiter and Venus go in the coming January, February, March, April months of 2022. I'm thinking there's a lot of positive aspects that the virus is going to recede and that we're going to have, once again, a world economy and a lot of happiness in the United States for a proper way to understand the infrastructure rather than the Venus-Pluto from the 11th to Christmas is incredible critical debate about negative things here and there that are stopping the whole from going forward, like misappropriation of monies, for instance, in the bill. There's a lot of problems with not having an honest conversation with the masses of people. If we have half of America want one thing and half want another thing, we want to have some kind of easy debate rather than crucifying anybody who doesn't agree with you. We want to have a really healthy collective consensus and debate and sharing, and then we have to make decisions by certain times to do things. But we have to honor everyone's opinion as much as we can before we need to go further on. And I think that as we get through this month, we're going to learn how to do that, I'm hoping. If we get lucky and Jupiter is conjuncting the moon, a lot's going to happen very fast for the positive. So the winter solstice is December 21st, 10:59 p.m. And it's then that we recapitulate the mineral, plant, animal, and human. We recapitulate and try to renew. It's very important to fast and eat healthy food and to pray and to feel attuned to our inner spiritual self. Very important at that point, and not just to bark at everybody. We don't want to just bark at people. We want to try to have intelligence during the 21st, 22nd, all the way to Christmas, and to kind of watch the 12 days of Christmas after Christmas for indications and premonitions of what's coming in the next 12 months. These are ancient Chumash Indians of North America, but Southern California. The early Indians there would watch those 12 months after the solstice or the Christmas day. They'd watch those 12 months for the gifts of virtue insights into every month and what could go wrong and what we could do to fix it. This is your chance to be psychic and clairvoyant, intuitive, receptive to what's coming up. But also just it's a holy time to attune to your highest self, and it's the death and rebirth of the new year. So that is the solstice on the 21st, the longest night and shortest day. And it takes 3 or 4 days before you can see that the light is growing. And that's an important time. So we also have a danger of the markets going up and down as we go. A lot of fluctuation here with the markets. I was predicting they were going to go down, and this recent fall was about a half a week late or so. But if you've been following my astrological predictions and the comet talk, there's a lot of vicissitudes of ups and downs, and it's a dangerous time again it's a dangerous time to gamble on the markets on options and puts, for sure. Especially as we go to the 23rd, 24th, 25th. Are markets dramatically up or down or back and forth? And is Venus-Pluto the downward trend of the market, or is Venus, Pluto the control factors of pumping money into the markets to keep them up? I'm not sure. We'd have to look at everybody's chart and take a much harder look. But Uranus, Mars is opposing Uranus in the United States chart here and there these last months. It's getting kind of crazy for paying a lot of attention. You have to be very careful. And perhaps Mars making healthier aspects now. Mars was playing games with the United States Uranus, but as Mars goes in March into Aquarius, it's going to be trying. I mean, this is going to be a great year coming up. I'm just a little nervous about what's happening now as we look at December with Mars going into Sagittarius and opposing the Uranus in the United States chart. There's a danger of violence and crashes and bad time to travel and weird weather. And, these difficult aspects are extremes in the weather and extremes in behavior. And we need to either educate people better with guns or take away the guns. I mean, we have to have some kind of thing where you have to pass a test of how brilliantly wise you are in martial arts and spiritual arts and compassion and wisdom to be able to have a gun, I think. But what do you think? And Venus, Pluto on the 25th is, on Christmas Day, is again that reality check of who do you love, what do you love, and does our love last, or is it just very temporal? Jupiter in Pisces on the 28th at 11:09 p.m. Hurrah, 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 hurrah. The moon's in Scorpio, Jupiter goes into Pisces, and we're walking into like that Mercury conjunct Venus on the 29th. We're talking about like some serious peacemaking now. Mercury conjuncts Pluto on the 30th, and we really do see the problem, and we want to address it. And that carries us in to the January 3rd perihelion of the comet. And it's very important to pray and meditate so that you can take advantage of these transformative, metamorphic aspects of psychological and emotional completions, endings, new beginnings. It's really important to have compassion for yourself first. That how hard we try and how much we all suffer to be ourselves and to make someone happy, and how hard all the presidents and the hope-to-be's have tried. I mean, Mr. President, ex-President Trump and President Biden, all the presidents have given it their best shot. I mean, look at George Bush Jr. goes and starts painting, for God's sake. Other people go off on the land and go into deep silence going, what just happened? We gave it our best shot, and things misfired, or we took a wrong turn, or our jet could not keep up the velocity. Whatever happened, we went broke. And the world is going broke with good air and water. So, I'm going to have another talk pretty soon here on Detroit and Michigan, because Michigan has a Sun conjunct Neptune aspect in their chart, and that's protecting the water or misusing it and getting robbed of it and blindsided, okay? So let me see what's next. So yes, now we can look at further implications of what's going on in December. We'll look at the different signs, like in Winter Solstice chart, Jupiter's near the ascending sign in Pisces. So, again, at the end of December, it looks like people want to have fun no matter what. But you still have that Venus-Pluto where, do friends betray you? Do you feel betrayed? Or do you have compassion and long, slow serving of the higher self, taking care of little kids and children and less fortunate? And with Mars on Sag, there's a will to higher learning. So, Sag, as you get to the end of the month, Sag, the fixed signs of Scorpio and Taurus and Leo and Aquarius kind of ease up a little bit, so you don't feel the stress of always having to battle obstacles or other people. And then it goes to the Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, who feel in December, especially near the end of December going into January, they feel like they're battling and having to be brave of the dark and honorable to the highest virtue in defending the weak and protecting the little ones. And the moon in Cancer is like the need for a home life to balance out work life. And the people that run the world and are the richest people, the top 1%, 3%, need to really consider Moon in Cancer, water, home, food, air, so that people can get to know each other and be happy like that if they can't be as rich as some. So there has to be some kind of balance between this Cancer Capricorn, and the cardinal signs who have been going through the biggest changes in a way, the Capricorn, Libra, Cancer, and Aries. So new initiatives, having struggles, getting anything new going, and the importance of human relationship being renewing and regenerative rather than degenerative, and the idea of work and home being in balance. And let me see, I think that's all I want to say right now, other than the fact that the planets are the intermediaries between the stars and the Earth event experience, the I am, the geo. Earth spells heart. So you may imagine that the I am of the heart is at the center of your chart, and that the planets are the lords of karma and timekeepers, and they're the titans who will grind you into bread, or they'll make you a superhero if you know how to channel the planets. And the planets are the 7 major virtues, Mahayana, Prajna, Paramitas, that I talk about in my 5 talks, especially the last couple, on the voice of the silence. You can quickly learn about that there. And then the Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, in my astrology book, Astrological Aspects, the Art, I talk about Uranus as a determination to be free. Saturn is the long-term structure or form that will hold the ground, the limits of growth. But Uranus is determination to be free, the wish to be free, and Neptune is the bodhisattva, artistic, cultural, musical, beautifying mind. Neptune is magnetism and beautification. It's beautifying. It's making things beautiful wherever you are, whatever you're doing. It's making everything sacred. Having like something near your bed be a little altar to the most precious ideals you have and reminders of those. And Pluto is selfless compassion, whereas Neptune is spiritual wisdom and mothering, virtue, qualities, mothering qualities. So the sun is a sense of self and light, the virtue of light. The moon is beholding and holding and harmonizing in this case. Neptune can be harmony too. And Venus is appreciation and the qualities of life and little things that matter, not just big things. And Mars is the bravado and the daring to do something, what we desire, to do what we desire, and hopefully it's a higher desire. I wish I had enlightenment so I could help all those who suffer, kind of thing. And Jupiter is the socializing family grace of the wealth of friendship. Saturn is the wealth of work and clarity and clear thinking and common sense. Uranus is trying to go beyond. And Saturn's trying to have a container that can hold your genius. And Pluto is like letting go of our past, moving to a higher future. So that's all I want to say right now. And I'll continue this journey. This is Robert of Mayflower Bookshop.com, sharing with you the major dozen or more aspects of December, the higher and lower octaves. And don't forget to check out my Comet talk and some of my other talks on Hermetics and Anthroposophy and Theosophy and Buddhism, meditation. The 3-minute meditation here is that all my experience boils into stillness seated in my heart, and unmovingly I wait for the birth of a better more, deeper, more beautiful, spiritual wisdom, insight, loving kindness, and out of warmth, I share, hoping that this will help you be a better person. So share this with other people. Dare to grow and know. Consider donating, maybe, for contributing to this whole expense of the internet and everything, time. And I wish you well. Merry Christos, and happy ever new you. I hope all your dreams to come true. And be beautiful, be strong, be still, and know there's a spark in your heart that rivals and is co-equal with any other heart and spark. Bless your garden of friends. Robert Mayflower, Bookshop.com. See you next time.